One that is joining us. My name is Grace Brown, and I will be hosting today's session for you. And I am just so thrilled that you are able to join us tonight. As we await everyone's arrival, feel free to get a pen and paper ready. Some people always like to take notes. And during our time together, you will definitely want your cell phone. What we can do is we can use this wonderful resource called Menti. So while we're waiting for our session to begin, I would like to help everyone get logged into Menti. Menti is a website that's going to allow you to share your thoughts. We're going to have discussion questions that we can all be a part of. I'll be asking you to take polls and quizzes throughout our session, and it will be our main method of communication because we've muted all microphones to eliminate background noise. We've hidden all cameras to really have an anonymous and confidential environment, and to ensure that everyone feels comfortable sharing their thoughts and emotions throughout today's session. To begin, you can either grab your cell phone or any device and scan this QR code. Scan that QR code on your device, and that will allow you to join us in tonight's interactive session. Once you're there, you'll see a heart, and then you'll know you're in the right section. You can also join us by going to www.menti.com and putting in the code 54592786. And again, you can open any browser and go to www.menti.com and go to 54592786. Again, this is going to allow you to take polls and quizzes anonymously with us throughout tonight's session, or you can simply go ahead and scan that QR code with your phone. Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled you're here, and I am even more excited to share that Tina Fulston-Hayes is with us, and Tina is going to give us just a few words on behalf of Alachua as we get started this evening. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday night webinar session. Thank you all for joining us. And again, we are excited to have you as audience listeners and participants. Again, I am Tina Fulston-Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Educational Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public School System. Tonight, you already know who you're going to be receiving some helpful information from, Ms. Grace. So thank you for joining us this evening. And just before we get started, I would like to review a few housekeeping elements. Please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. We will be monitoring the Q&A located at the bottom of your webinar window and with Menti. If you have any questions for us or have a personal conversation that needs to be had, please go ahead and send a message to our email address. The email address for the Parent Academy is parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu, and we will get to those questions and request for additional information forwarded to the correct Alachua County Public School member or community member. Please note that all Parent Academy webinars are closed captioned and recorded and posted to our website for access at a later date or re-review for any individuals who could not tune in live tonight. And we will be answering all of the questions at the conclusion of each session. And now, without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Ms. Grace.
Well, thank you so much, Tina. It's so lovely to have you on, and of course, all of the families that have joined us this evening. You know, today we are here to really launch a conversation for this school year, and the conversation is around supporting the mental health of our kiddos. I am thrilled to be here today to lead your session, and I would just like to express my gratitude to Tina and the entire Alachua School District for really bringing this night together and making it possible. Once again, to ensure kind of a safe environment, we have Menti, which allows for you to share anonymously with us. Research does tell us that human connection is a protective factor and one of the best ways to support a child's mental health. At the Cook Center for Human Connection, we empower parents and believe in the power of human connection. Did you know human connection is a way to prevent suicide? It's a way to boost the mental health of our children. We are also going to share with you free mental health and wellness resources that you can access on demand in the privacy of your own home. And during our session today, I have so much to share with you all. We're going to definitely want to be learning from each other. So please participate with us in Menti. And once again, if you're just joining us, all of your responses in the Menti platform will be completely anonymous. I'm also going to show you how to find resources. One of my favorite resources that I'm going to show you today is called parentguidance.org. And that is a self-help site for parents. And it's really designed to address your questions and help you find answers on demand as it relates to your child's mental health. Speaking of you and your children, I'd like to learn a little bit about the ages of your children and get to know you a little better. So share with me, are your kiddos in elementary school, middle school, high school? Do you have a child that's out of our K-12 system? But of course, parenting never ends. So maybe you have an older child at home. Feel free to select all or multiple that apply to your family here on this Menti activity. And again, so happy to have you joining us this evening. If you are in Menti with us, if you're not in Menti with us yet, you can go to menti.com on any browser, and you can go ahead and put in the code at the top of the screen here, 54592786. And it does look like so far we've got a mix of families on. We've got families that have kids in all age ranges at home. So I'm curious, what are some of the biggest mental health concerns you have as it relates to your child? What's going on? What is keeping you up at night? What are you worried about? We are living in a society where it seems like children are dealing with some really tough topics. And I just want to hear from you some of those that, your child might be dealing with. And I'm seeing some of those come in now. Social media. Social media is, of course, affecting our mental health. I'm seeing concerns around anxiety, concerns around depression, and all of those are so valid. One of our purposes today is to decrease the stigma around mental health issues by really encouraging a conversation and an open dialogue. Being a parent is just plain hard sometimes, and everyone kind of jokingly says kids don't come with a handbook, and the reality is they're right. And so we need to know where to go when our kids are dealing with a mental health challenge. And we need answers on demand, don't we? So anxiety, depression, social media, kids that are dealing with bullying or maybe are attention seeking, all of those are things we're going to tackle this evening. Now, I'm curious if you, like me, have ever said any of these things. Gosh, I feel unable to help my child with their mental health. Or, goodness, I am unequipped to have these conversations with my kiddo. Or, how do I give my kiddo this guidance to improve their situation? Have you ever just plain said, goodness, I don't know the first thing about mental health? Knowing where to find answers is crucial, and being prepared before a crisis arrives is your best case scenario. So let's play a quick game, and that game is called Did You Know? So as we play this little mental health game, I'd love for you to respond in Menti. This is a time for you to simply reflect on what the mental health landscape is really like for youth. What is it really like to be a child in 2023, 2024? And how is their mental health different from maybe ours when we were their age? So let's start the game. Did you know 75% of mental health problems start before adulthood? Think about that. The pre-adult phase plays, of course, a pivotal role in brain development and emotional regulation. During this period where kids are developing, that is a period where kids are susceptible to influence, environmental stressors, trauma, identifying and intervening is great. If you can do that at an early age, then adolescents are going to be better at addressing some of these issues that could get more severe as they roll into adulthood. So share with me and Menti this one. Did you know young people are on average less happy with their life than they were 10 years ago? In recent times, it really does appear that happiness levels among today's youth have dipped compared to decades ago. And of course, there are several factors that are contributing to this. Social media, we've already talked about, financial challenges, academic pressures, environmental concerns, heightened awareness. So there is so much going on for kiddos. Additionally, feelings of isolation and kind of this complex political landscape that we're living with really can have an effect on our kiddos. So of course, every individual experience is going to vary, but on a whole, collectively, our kiddos are not as happy as they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Happiness for young people today is a real struggle. And I want you to think about this. Where were you in the year 2008? Where were you? Were you in high school? Were you in middle school? Had you had your first baby? Maybe you were starting a great job that year or were on some sort of adventure. Maybe you had gotten married that year, or maybe you were 10 years into your career in 2008. No matter where you were, 2008 is the year that this thing ended up in your hand. And not only did it end up in your hand, but it ended up in everyone's hand. Everyone had a cell phone in their hand. And not only that, but that cell phone was connected to social media. And by 2008, between 2008 and 2010, even teens had social media in their hands. And we see something very interesting happen in statistics in our mental health landscape. We notice that between the years 2008 and 2010, anxiety in youth skyrocketed, depression in youth skyrocketed, and we saw more numbers in youth suicide than ever before. And so you have to wonder, does social media play a role? And the answer is, of course, yes. Did you know that 1 in 6 children have a diagnosable mental health disorder? On average, this translates to at least 5 instances in every typical classroom. So for some of us, that is definitely news. And as you're aware, parents can greatly contribute to supporting their child's mental health. This involves nurturing open communication. It entails being proactive in seeking professional assistance when necessary. Parents can contribute by cultivating and nurturing stigma-free atmospheres within their family and their home. And, furthermore, as parents, we play a crucial role in encouraging healthy lifestyle with our kiddos. And we also teach our kiddos coping strategies, how to cope when times get tough. all of these actions are super essential to kind of help your child and bolster them with what they need to be successful in happiness and well-being. What's interesting about this is that with every 1 in 6 children having a diagnosable mental health disorder, this means that those are 5 kids that have anxiety, that have depression, that are working with somebody. This is not talking about the everyday traumas that kids just bring to class. The trauma that a child brings to class if their pet passes away. All of those little things on top of this going on in their classroom. So are some of these numbers a little bit surprising to you? They were for me, even as an educator, even as somebody that works in mental health. Kids are worrying a lot, and they worry more than we did when we were in school. Did we have to worry about an active shooter? Not so much. Today, over 20% of kids are worried about being bullied. Over 50% of kiddos 6th through 12th grade tell us that they are worried about suicide by a fellow student. And over the past decade, mental health has been a rising concern. It's honestly gotten worse. Did you know this? In October of 2021, 3 of our largest health organizations came together and they published a declaration. They cited that we are in a national emergency in children and adolescent mental health. That's right. Did you know our youth are living through a national emergency of child and adolescent mental health? It's on the rise. Those organizations that came together were the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and of course, also the National Children's Hospital Association. This was big news for mental health, the fact that we're in a national emergency. And this is why your school district is bringing you these resources. This is why we're here to talk about parentguidance.org. We're here to help schools, help parents, help their children. So, there is frankly a crisis in our country, and this mental health crisis is something that you're feeling, I'm feeling, our kids are feeling, and it's also being recognized at the highest levels. Let's just take a few minutes and listen to this interview with our very own Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy.
Yeah, I'm deeply worried, Paige, about the mental health of young people in America right now. We're in the midst of a crisis, and we have been for many years, even though it hasn't always made the headlines or been top of mind for people. But what COVID did is it really pulled back the curtain on just how severe the mental health epidemic is in the United States, particularly among youth. And there are 3 numbers, Paige, that always stick in my head. One is the number 11. That's the number of years it takes on average for a child to receive treatment after developing symptoms. The second number is 57. That's a percentage increase in the suicide rate that we had among kids in the decade prior to the pandemic. And this got worse for a number of kids during the pandemic. And the other number that I remember is 42%. That's a percentage of high school students. 44%. That's a percentage of high school students who say they feel persistently sad or hopeless. And think about it, we think of high school as a time where your life is opening up for you, but nearly half of high school kids are feeling despondent about themselves and about the future. So these, to me, stick in my head because they give me a snapshot of where we are. And it's echoed by the conversations I have with young people all across the country who routinely tell me that they are struggling with anxiety or depression, many of whom also tell me that their experience of social media often leaves them feeling worse about themselves and about their friendships. And finally, I think it's important not to lose sight of the experience of parents here as well. And I say this as a dad myself. I have 2 small kids who are 4 and 5. And my interest in this topic of youth mental health is partly motivated by them. I think about their future. I want to make sure that they are well. But when I talk to parents across the country, they are struggling right now. They are dealing with their own anxieties and worries, whether it's about COVID, economic worries, etc. But they're also worried about their kids. And I'll tell you that one of the worst feelings that you can have as a parent is to see your kids struggling and to not be able to get them the help that they need. And that is a situation that many parents are in. With all of that said, though, Paige, The good news is we can do something about this. It does not have to be this way. And we, in fact, know much of what we have to do. We know we've got to expand access to treatment, and we know how to do that. We know that we've got to increase the workforce of people who can provide and deliver mental health care. And we know we have got to invest in prevention and prevention programs, especially that are school-based, that we know work. And finally, we've got to shift our culture around mental health as well to one that is not so imposing of this terrible stigma on mental health. It doesn't make people feel ashamed to ask for help. These are things we can do. We've already started to do. We've got to accelerate because there are millions of children who are struggling right now and they can't wait any longer.
So think about that. Dr. Murthy just mentioned 11 years is how long it takes on average for a child to receive treatment after developing symptoms. That is a long time. 57, that is the percent increase in suicide rate among kids from 2010 to 2020. And 44% of high school students say they constantly feel sad or hopeless. And these numbers, unfortunately, are rising. And our Surgeon General, along with governors and other leaders at the highest level, are talking about social media. Social media has been brought up a lot already in today's conversation. And so we're going to just talk a little bit about facts and figures. Dr. Murthy suggested that parents can actually do 6 things to help protect their children from the harms of social media. And I just wanted us to take a look at those 6 suggestions from our Surgeon General. So reflect on which of these are going well for you and which of these might need some attention in your family. If you feel that there's an area that might need attention, please place a pin on that image in Menti. So here are some areas to consider. Creating a family media plan. Creating tech-free zones for your children and yourself. Maybe you don't allow cell phones in the bedrooms at night because kids need sleep and blue light is keeping our kiddos up. Model healthy behavior with technology and social media. Take breaks often. You may even want to dive in to some of the analytics that are available in our social media platforms. Talk about how much time you're spending on Instagram or Facebook. Report any cyberbullying and make sure that your kiddos understand the dangers of being contacted online and what to do if it happens and how to report or block folks on their social media platforms. Work with other parents to help establish shared norms and practices and to support different programs and policies around social media use. And again, thanks so much for being here tonight to have this important conversation around mental health. We also want to teach kids about technology and empower them to be responsible online, and then help our kids to participate online in a way that is appropriate for their age. So lastly, you might want to even think about taking a course on social media and how social media affects children and teen mental health. And there's a wonderful course on parentguidance.org that's available to all of us at any time. And of course, you can share it with any parent you know. But think about taking this course, how digital media is changing our children's mental health. Speaking of parentguidance.org, remember how we talked all about, kiddos just do not come with an instructions manual. And parentguidance.org is a free website for parents or really for anyone to have a trusted place to go if you have questions. Pardon me. So here is the deal, friends. Our goal is to really empower you. You're the parent, and we know that you have and want to have a positive impact on your child's mental health. And we want to help you tackle hard topics and situations with your children. So here is one more thought on why parentguidance.org, why you might want to dive in to this resource.
The well-being of every child matters. In every classroom, in every school, in every district. That is a lot of children. Too many for every single one of them to have enough one-on-one time with teachers or school counselors. But parents have an expectation that their school will be helping with the mental health of their child. That is why school districts around the country are partnering with ParentGuidance.org, a resource created with therapists to teach parents how to navigate mental health issues with online courses, one-on-one parent coaching, and family mental health seminars that will truly help parents improve the lives of their children. We understand how complex the world has become for children, and we are here to support you by helping your parents take charge of their children's mental health.
So again, Parent Guidance has on-demand, self-guided resources that you can use in the privacy of your own home or the privacy of your own phone. The website has over 50 self-guided courses available on demand. And as you see, these topics range from child development to self-harm to technology and mental health. We are all about building confidence and helping you engage with your children in healthy ways. In fact, you can also check out one of my favorite courses. It's called Helping Your Child When They Are Bullied. You can learn about the latest research around social media with that course we mentioned, how digital media is changing our children's mental health. And maybe you want to know more about self-harm. And maybe you want to look at our course on self-harm and how parents can help. There is something in here for everyone. Have you taken a parenting class? What is so interesting is most parents haven't. We haven't had the opportunity to take a parent class. And so that is something you can do here on ParentGuidance.org. You can take a course from our clinical director, Dr. Kevin Skinner. And in his course, he explains a little bit about what parental warmth is. And we're actually going to get to learn from him about that right now.
So I'm going to ask you to take a little short quiz here as I go through these questions, because these are the questions that the researchers asked adolescents about their experience with their parents. All right, so now we're going to look at parental warmth. Now, parental warmth, there's some questions here that I'd like you to look at. First, we asked adolescents, it makes me feel better after talking over my worries. How often does that happen in relationships? My parent smiles at me very often. My parent is able to make me feel better when I'm upset. My parent enjoys doing things with me, cheers me up when I'm sad, gives me a lot of care and attention, makes me feel like the most important person in their life, believes in showing love to me, often praises me, and is easy to talk to. Those questions were identified as parental warmth. Now, what was the outcome? My research and researchers throughout the world have found that this is the outcome when parental warmth scores were high. In other words, it was happening. First, it helped in cognitive development, meaning that intellectually they were able to flourish intellectually. It also helped with creativity, conformity, meaning that they were willing to conform to the guidelines in school or other settings. They were more likely to have moral behavior. They had higher levels of self-esteem. They had positive educational outcomes. They had less depression. And the more parental warmth was available, it buffered these adolescents against mood-lowering effects of stressful life events. Parental warmth had influence in all of these areas. Now, it may sound like a simple thing, but go back and review those questions. Let's look at this slide one more time of some of those questions. My parent makes me feel better after talking over my worries. My parent smiles at me. Remember in the beginning when I talked about the basic needs of children? When our parent smiles at us, we detect that they're pleased with us. They enjoy doing things with me. They're connecting. Makes me feel like I'm the most important person in their life. Praises me, is easy to talk to. These are the environment where children thrive. If we really want to help our children, that parental warmth, those specific behaviors have been found to be effective. So how did you do? I look at these questions and think I could be better. We're not going to shame ourselves because we haven't been, but if we want to be successful in our parenting with warmth, those are 11 ways that we can do so.
So let's look at your own parental warmth. Let's take a look at this. I would love for you to grab a pen or a paper, or you can just count on your fingers. We're actually going to take the parental warmth quiz. And as I read the list, I want you to give yourself a point for every item your child would say yes to. If you have more than one child, do this thinking about your relationship with the child that was top of mind when you decided to attend tonight. As you answer these questions, be honest with yourself. Be honest in your responses and be aware that some of these may make you feel a little uncomfortable. Self-reflection, frankly, can be a little painful. When I did this exercise for the first time, I wanted to say, yeah, I do all of these things. But really take a moment before you respond, because this is not a guilt trip. It's just a way to self-reflect. And it's a way to see if there are areas that we can improve on. So get ready to count up those yeses as I read out these quiz questions. Okay, would your child say yes to, my parent makes me feel better after talking about my worries? Would your child say yes to, my parent smiles at me very often? Would your child say yes to, my parent is able to make me feel better when I am upset? Would your child say yes to, my parent enjoys doing things with me? Now remember, this is your kiddo talking. Would your child say yes to, my parent enjoys doing things with me? Would your child say yes to, my parent cheers me up when I am sad? Would your child say, yeah, my parent gives me a lot of care and attention? Would your child say yes to, my parent makes me feel like the most important person in their life? Would your child say yes to, my parent believes in showing love for me? What about this one? Would your child say, yes, my parent often praises me? And would your child say yes to, my parent is easy to talk to? Go ahead and tally those up. Tally those up. Count up those points and share your score in Menti. Remember, it's completely anonymous. And remember, your identity, of course, won't be shown, but it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to go ahead and look at those, to look at these. Where are you on the parental warmth scale? This is simply a time to reflect and share how you're doing with parental warmth and creating that warmth. Remember, we only do what we know to do. And often that's a reflection of how we were raised, whether good or bad, or somewhere in between. Here's an expression I love that I want to share with you. If I knew better, I would do better. And of course, as a parent, just like our children, we are all learning. We're all growing. So Dr. Skinner, who has been working with families for over 25 years, shares the more parental warmth available to children, the better they do socially, the better they do in their interactions with others. He also shares that parental warmth affects big areas, like if kids are surrounded by parental warmth, they have better cognitive development. They're more creative. They are more have a better ability to accept rules and routines. They have stronger moral behavior. They have higher self-esteem, higher educational outcomes, less depression, and actually parental warmth buffers against mood lowering effects of stress. And what's amazing about this concept of parental warmth is all the things are things we can easily do, and they don't cost a dime. Imagine if you choose to focus on smiling more at your child. Isn't that just so simple? And yet it's a game changer. Dr. Skinner shares that this is a game-changing parenting tip and a way to connect with your child and really parent with purpose. So I love looking at those outcomes. As I mentioned earlier, parentguidance.org is at your fingertips. It's completely free of charge, thanks to the support of your school district and the Cook Center for Human Connection. And I want to take you on a little journey, and I want us to dive in to the website together. So feel free to open up a new browser and navigate to parentguidance.org. Once you're there at parentguidance.org, you'll gain access to truly a treasure trove of invaluable resources. And all of these resources are at no cost to you. So take a moment and navigate to the website, and then we're going to explore together. So notice across the top of the page, there are different sections. The first section is courses. As I mentioned before, the courses section has over 50 courses, and you can take any of these courses. They all span so many different topics. So you can really truly find what's relevant to you or what your child's going through. The courses include child development and parenting tips and tricks, other topics like bullying, or like I mentioned, how children self-harm. We even have courses on what parents need to know about suicide prevention. So if you scroll all the way down the page, you'll see that we have so many sessions that you can take, so many courses, over 50. We've got over to the side, we've got a library of topics. So for example, if you click on anxiety and depression, it'll show you all the courses that were specifically tailored to teaching you about that. And also you'll be able to see all about our clinicians that put these wonderful courses together. There's always a trailer for every course, and of course, always a little summary as well. So you'll notice that each course is kind of segmented. And so you can start and stop when you need to and come back at any time. You can take multiple courses at once, however it works for you. So in addition to our courses, I'd also like you to check out another tab in parentguidance.org, and that tab is called Ask a Therapist. This section is where some of the leading clinicians in this country answer parent questions, and they post a video response with a transcript so we can all benefit. In this section, you can take a look at what other parents are asking and what our clinicians responded, how they responded to these questions. And really what we have here is a library of frequently asked questions, frequent questions that parents have around children's mental health. And we have experts that have answered those questions. So all of our resources at parentguidance.org are available in English and Spanish. And definitely something that we want you to feel free to access. I've mentioned a little bit about our clinical team, and our dedicated therapists are ready to assist you with challenging questions. So please feel free to type in a question in our Ask a Therapist section, because you might find practical tips or guidance on how to navigate a situation you're going through. And again, look at those questions that have already been posted and responded to on Ask a Therapist. Okay, I am so excited because Alachua School District has partnered with us to bring you parent coaching. So we know being a parent is tough, and our coaches give you confidence, structure, and ideas to tackle tough topics. Coaching is completely HIPAA protected, and you can connect with your coach weekly at no cost due to the partnership between your child and your school district and parentguidance.org. So there might have been a time where you needed mental health advice. You needed someone to talk to. And that's where mental health coaching comes in. Imagine having a virtual parenting assistant, someone to guide you through the ups and downs of raising your child. Well, that's precisely what parent coaching is. So if you go to parentguidance.org and click parent coaching, you can sign up, and within 24 to 48 hours, you will get matched with a dedicated coach. And you and that coach can have weekly video calls at no cost to you, completely HIPAA protected. You can look at joining some weekly growth sessions. We might have a specific session you can join on anxiety or depression or self-harm. You can have anytime messaging. So that means you can message your coach at any time, and within 24 to 48 hours, they will get back to you. Self-guided roadmaps, mood tracking, and progress tracking are also available through parent coaching. And all of this is something that you can access by going to parentguidance.org and clicking on coaching. And again, within 24 to 48 hours, you'll get connected with your coach. And I often get the question, Grace, what can I expect if I meet with a coach? Well, these calls with your coach take place virtually. And your coach and you will kind of put together a customized agenda, and you can meet with that coach once or twice or weekly. Some folks meet with their coach for many weeks. Some meet once or twice, whatever works for you. And again, you can message that coach at any time. So here's a video from our coaching manager, and she is going to talk with you just a little bit about coaching. And also notice we've got a link on Menti right now for you. So if you click here to confidentially register, you can register for coaching right now.
I'm a parent, you're a parent. I think we can agree that this space is very difficult. We have these amazing little children that do not come with a manual. We honestly don't know what to do with them. And it's a terrifying space. It's a fun space, but it's also quite difficult. So what our coaches help you do is to walk through those difficulties, having support and the confidence that you need as a parent. I think back on when I was a young mother, I would have loved to have somebody there by my side, asking me how I'm doing, helping me navigate through some of the difficulties that I felt. I felt very inadequate. I would have loved to have someone say, actually, you're doing really well. And not just that, but the things I was struggling with, giving me that information that I needed to really be resilient and to parent a little bit better. So even though there's things that I know I didn't do perfectly, it still would have been nice to have someone say, you can do a little bit better and here's how. But don't beat yourself up. Have the patience that you need in order to help your children. I think a lot of times as parents, we are so hard on ourselves. We think that we need to be perfect, our children need to be perfect. That can cause a lot of anxiety. And when we're dealing with that much anxiety, being a parent is that much harder. Having a coach by your side allows you to come down from that anxiety level, realize that what you're experiencing is normal and that your worries are very valid. They will give you the tools and the support that you need in order to work through some of those struggles that you have and give you the support that you need to help your children along the way.
So hopefully that gave you just a little bit more insight into parent coaching. And I'm curious, now that we've talked, now that you've learned a little bit about parentguidance.org, what makes you excited? Do you think you'll check out those on-demand courses? Do you think you'll check out parent coaching? Do you think you'll check out those FAQs on Ask a Therapist? Go ahead and let us know what's got you excited in Menti. Again, maybe it's the courses, maybe it's the parent coaching, or maybe it's the Ask a Therapist section. So raising a kiddo, of course, can be challenging. We all know that. And their behaviors and their emotions ebb and flow. They change frequently. But many of the ways that our kids' emotions ebb and flow are typical. They're typical developmental phases. However, some behaviors can indicate mental disorders like anxiety, ADHD, depression, PTSD, which without treatment can really hinder a child's full potential and lead to regrets among adults who simply wish they would have helped earlier. And so to distinguish between normal growing up challenges and concerning behaviors, I want you to consider this. Consider seeking help if your child's behavior persists for several weeks. Consider seeking help if your child's behavior is causing stress or distress to you or your child. Consider seeking help if it's hindering your child's function at school or at home. Definitely consider seeking help if it's posing a safety risk to your child or your family. Immediate help is essential. And if your child expresses self-harm towards themselves, that's definitely another time that you definitely want to seek out some help. Speaking of help, we are going to be tackling some pretty important topics over the coming months, and we hope that you join us for all of our sessions. But we can't wait to discover some great advice. So I wanted to leave you with some of my favorite kind of practical tips for families. And these tips are all about kind of helping your kiddo stay calm and emotionally regulated. So friends, let's turn our attention to a couple skills that we can teach our kids. As you know, it's crucial for children to develop skills and be able to calm down and effectively problem solve. Fortunately, there are so many ways to practice these skills with kids, and of course, no shortage of situations where these skills are useful. So let's talk first about preparation and routines. The reality is, preparation and routines help combat anxiety. Generally, kids who are prone to anxiety tend to find transitions super difficult. Regular routines give a sense of control to both the parent and the child, and can really help the child to regulate their emotions because they will not know because they do know what to expect each day. So getting a good preparation and routine in place for your child can help actually combat anxiety. Here's another helpful tip. Teach children to acknowledge mistakes and talk to themselves kindly about errors. Negative self-talk, folks, is something that we have all experienced, that negative voice inside our head. But it's something we need to teach our children to combat. We need to teach them how to turn those negatives into positives and to be able to shut down that negative voice. Ultimately, kids need to know how to talk to themselves kindly about their errors, about failure. Another important thing to talk about is breathing. And this is because this is always there for you. Breathing is something that you can always put into place, and it's always going to help us manage our emotions. There are so many different types of breathing exercises. I like multisensory breathing. So maybe you're using your fingers, you're breathing in, and you're breathing out, and you're tracing your fingers, and you're breathing in, and you're breathing out. That's a great one. Breathing is great because, like I said, it's multisensory and it's always there for you. And it leaves a little bit of a room for your brain to digest whatever's going on. So the way you parent will affect your child. And of course, just those examples were just some things that we're going to learn throughout this year together as you dive in and you continue to join us for these topical webinars. And so don't forget to sign up for the next one. The reality is your school district cares about the mental health of students and families in your community, and we don't want you to miss out on this. So your next series is called What Parents Need to Know About Suicide Prevention. It's on October 26th at 6 p.m. And we really hope that you join us for that. Also, we are so lucky to still have on with us Tina Fulston Hayes. Tina, would you like to say a few words before we end this evening? And as she's coming back on, I also wanted to hear a little bit from you. What are a few things you'll remember from today's conversation? What stood out to you? Again, I just cannot thank you enough for being here and supporting mental health, supporting your child as we continue to help our children as they navigate this mental health landscape that kids today are dealing with. So again, what are a few things you might remember from today's conversation? As you're typing that in, I'd like to extend a special thank you to your administrators for really making this partnership possible and offering these valuable resources to families. And we do have a few responses that have come in. Parental warmth, absolutely. And the amount of resources we have freely available, like parentguidance.org or coaching through parentguidance.org, which I hope you do take us up on. Please join us again, as many of you are saying you're going to do, at parentguidance.org, and we will see you on October 26th for your next session with us. Thanks, and have a great day.